appreciate y'all chilling and politicking and paying attention because it's real vital. You heard me? Trench Talk TV. So that's what it's gonna sound like. It ain't gonna sound like nothing sugarcoat. It ain't gonna sound like what you want to hear. It's gonna be trench talk.
Right? Growing up, you in the South, you run the streets now. Man, I heard you speak on a couple notorious names, man, from South Baton Rouge, such as Lee Lucas, Ivy, Buckey, Buck, Fat, Pig. You came up with these guys?
Definitely. And I feel things like that make me feel like that I was meant to tell a story. I was meant to be the chosen one or that nigga, because I actually know all these people personally and had relationships with these people personally, not knowing that life was gonna turn out to be the way it was.
For those who don't know, could you give us a snippet or a glimpse into who these guys were? Pig, Buck, and Fat?
Pig?
Yeah.
Okay, Pig, I met Pig in jail.
All right.
Now, Pig is not one of my rounds.
Okay.
But we was cool for a while. Unfortunately, I think Pig got killed, so rest in peace, Pig. But I met Pig in jail, his brother, and some more people. His brother named Lou. And they was on the charge together, him and 5 more people, Big Josh and some other dudes. And it was hard to have 5 people on the charge together without nobody telling, because they was on a hard charge. But and I want to say Pig, I don't know if he was the youngest one, but he was the smallest one. And he was he was solid. I want to say their whole situation turned out solid. But, he was like the brains of that little situation, and he was the one trying to keep everybody calm that was on the charge with him, and eventually, they all came home. So, that's kind of the story that I know about Pig.
Ivy, Buck.
Now we're gonna go back to Ivory, because Ivory is a long list. Now, Ivory is like his grandmother, welcomed me in her home and christened me as her son. So his mother did the same thing, but it was because of the struggle. Now, I lived in Blanche's Court, which was the trenches, and Ivory lived on the other side of the gate of Blanche's Court, which was one step away from the trenches. Like when they say a thin line between the trenches and they stayed on the other side. Now, it was still tight on them because, I want to say Ivory daddy, shout out to Isaiah, he had a drug problem. So that left moms to carry the load. Ivory was like the middle child. She had Buckey and Kiki, then Ivory, then the twins. Now, it's crazy because that's 2 Southside legends from one mother.
Right.
Buckey and Ivory. But at the same time, like when Buckey had his regime, Ivory was in jail. And he was older than Ivory. And he was a gangster. Like when people say they was gangsters and don't give a fuck about nothing, he stood on that. Buckey stood on being a gangster. Gotcha. And it bothered him because he couldn't show no weakness. He couldn't show no love. He couldn't show love for me. He couldn't show love for his brothers. He couldn't show love for nobody. Like his mother, he had to show love. So he tried to stay away from her. He used to tell me, I don't want to go around my mom. I don't want to go around my mom. I'm like, Bucky, bro, you tripping, you da-da-da. But I understood, like, he was a gangster and he knew his life wasn't gonna be long, because his biggest question was, is you gonna come to my funeral?
Why would you say he knew he wasn't gonna live long?
Because he was asking, is you gonna come to my funeral? Like, he wanted your word that you were coming. You feel me? Like, he was like, I just want to have a big gangster funeral, so, you make sure you come, and I'm gonna make sure all y'all be there, and
and I heard stories. He did have a funeral like he should have.
Probably, he definitely did. But like I say, you don't want to glorify a gangster, but you want to glorify him as his mama's child, as a person, as Kamar German, But you don't want to glorify no gangster because you don't want people to think that that's what's up. But he really walked the walk. So I have to acknowledge that. And Buck did too. Bucky and Buck is 2 different people. Buck was younger than Bucky, but we all was from the South. Buck from a different end, but what my job was, like I said, I was certifying niggas at 10 years old. So around this time, 13, 14, I was uniting the whole uptown of the South. Like they had this end over here across the track, which where Buckland was at. Then they had downhill over here on 21st where Tyree was at. And they had over here across Government where Ivory was at. And then they had right there in the middle, 17, 16 where I was at. So what I did was, like I said, once my name was able to carry my weight, I started connecting the South because I was able to do that. Like I was able to cross the neighborhood barriers without paying the consequences because I was certified. You know what I'm saying? So I was making moves. I united the whole top.